stormy winter, staying here tonight.
Howdy ho, Shindiggers. My name is Steve Holroyd. By my side, as always, is Sammy the Wonder Pug. And you are listening to The Front Row, brought to you by Schaefer Beer. Schaefer is the one beer to have when you're having more than one. Soccer is the sport of the future, and always will be. This is a line that has been used by soccer haters since the days of the original North American Soccer League, back when it boldly proclaimed itself the sport of the 80s. Funny, but now, finally, wrong. Soccer in America has well and truly arrived. Now recall the glory days of the NASL, where a few teams drew well, but most were dismal at the gate, and all played in rented stadiums. Precious few native-born Americans actually got to play. The American Soccer League was barely an afterthought. The only other minor leagues were regional circuits made up of ethnic clubs with unpronounceable names. And the college game was moribund, with games played on backfields before no fans. And that was considered good. Good enough to start the whole sport of the future thing in the first place. Then compare that to today. MLS is thriving, with cities lining up to be part of the league. Average attendances far in excess of anything this country has ever seen for soccer in the past. In stadiums owned and controlled by the teams. Solid minor leagues with incredible attendance figures in some markets. College games drawing huge crowds. Native-born Yanks playing and starring in the league. And across the board, the presence of a full-blown soccer culture that simply did not exist prior to MLS's arrival. In short, soccer is the sport of the future, and the future is now. It has arrived, and it is here to stay. And so the question is no longer, when will soccer make it in America? No, now the question is, when will it take the next step? When will soccer break into the ranks of the so-called Big Four of Major League Baseball, the NFL, the NBA, and the NHL? Now, I know, some data indicates that MLS is already there in certain demographics, more popular than any of the Big Four but the NFL. And that's good. But the perception remains. Pro soccer is not a major sport. MLS is still seen as number 5 at best, and it does not appear that the status quo is going to change that perception anytime soon. Let's face it, Americans are spoiled by an abundance of top-quality sporting choices. The United States is home to the best professional leagues in every sport among the Big Four, in stark contrast to soccer. So in order to break into the rarefied air of Big Four status, pro soccer in America needs to be able to offer fans something different, something that would separate soccer from the crowded pack of pro teams and leagues and give the elusive casual fan a reason to stand up and pay attention. The question is how? What can soccer do? I mean, everybody does playoffs. And you can't replicate an event like the Super Bowl or a singularly iconic trophy like the Stanley Cup. And, the rules of soccer won't allow the walk-off drama of baseball or the one-on-one drama of baseball. So what can soccer do? Well, we know gimmicks won't work. Awarding 6 points for a win and bonus points for goals scored? Yeah, that was tried. It was an NASL concept that was universally loathed and did very little to move the needle. Changing the rules of the game? Nope. Casual fans won't care, and hardcore soccer fans will be disgusted. The NASL proved that as well. Overspending for big stars from across the world. Well, history has shown this only gets you temporary popularity and winds up wreaking havoc on your business model. So again, the question, what can soccer do? Well, I have the answer, and I'm going to share it with you now. Promotion and relegation. I'll give you a moment to pick yourself off the floor. In fact, Sammy just did that head-turning thing pugs do when they hear something odd. But yes, I said promotion and relegation. A concept that does not exist anywhere else in U.S. pro sports. Imagine a league where leagues aren't fighting for mere playoff berths, where, as a low seed, they can expect to be one and done, basically. But they're fighting to stay in the big leagues. That is drama and excitement that American sports fans will not get anywhere else. Fans will have a reason to continue watching their bottom-dwelling side because they would have something to play for. Survival. And Americans love underdog stories. Imagine getting behind an American Leicester. Not only going from worst to first, but crossing divisions to do it. It would provide storylines and narratives never before seen in American sports. No other American pro sport has this, and it is guaranteed to move soccer into the national American Main Street sports consciousness. And let the record reflect, I am all for it. There's one slight problem. It will never happen. In some ways, it simply cannot happen. The U.S. is too big, with cities too far apart, for a league to survive the relegation of a major market team. For instance, in England, if Liverpool go down, at least fans in that city are around D1 football because of Everton. The sport's footprint doesn't shrink. Fans don't feel isolated. That's not the case in the U.S. For instance, here in Philadelphia, if the Union were relegated, there's no way for MLS to stay on that city's sports radar. But there's TV, I can hear pro relics say. Yeah, well, how's that working out for the NHL? National TV deals for about 40 years, and still a sport known only in the places where there are franchises. And in the case of Florida and Arizona, not even that. TV presence is simply not enough. It also cannot happen because American sports leagues operate under the franchise model. And, whisper it quietly, all of the leagues are monopolies. No sane owner is going to willingly open its franchises to the possibility of value dropping exponentially as the result of relegation. Newsflash. This isn't England, and sorry lads, we don't have 100 years of an unbroken history where the sport has had the opportunity to grow deep roots. Owners will simply fold franchises. It will be lights out. So deal with it. Real open promotion and relegation will never happen here in the United States, at least under the current setup. So how do we get the excitement of pro rel without the league crushing risk? Obviously, some sort of closed pro rel model makes sense. Even then, owners may push back, but one would think that the upside of maybe creating a unique sporting experience to bring soccer a wider audience, and with it more money, might be worth the risk, especially with the safety net that you're never going to be out of MLS, which means you'll continue to share in league revenue from TV deals and things like that. You can even incorporate a limited open pro rel with the lower leagues, basing future expansion of D2 and D3 things based on their winning their respective divisions. And sure, there'll still be franchise fees to pay, but the excitement will be there. And oh yeah, as Seattle, Portland, Montreal, Orlando, Vancouver, Atlanta, Minnesota, and already know, this kind of promotion does work. And I think we'll see some form of MLS 1 and MLS 2 in the next 5 years. And it will be good for the game. And I confidently predict that when that happens, soccer will finally enter the realm of the Big Four. Perhaps bumping out hockey, or maybe we'll just start calling it the Big Five, much to the chagrin of Philadelphia college basketball fans. Anyway, there you have it. Pro rel for USA, but with an asterisk. But what of the pro relics out there who are no doubt cursing me and would pull Sammy the Wonder Pug's curly tail with malice aforethought if given the chance? Am I telling them to get over it? Well, yes. But I'm also going to give you an alternative, supported by history, since this is a history podcast after all. As noted, American sports leagues are essentially monopolies. They are slow to change. They are loath to change. But one thing forces them to change: rival leagues. Only one thing will disrupt the U.S. soccer MLS status quo, and that is competition. So here's what you have to do. Step 1, stop trashing MLS. Love it or hate it, it's the current gold standard. As long as it succeeds, other people are going to want to get on board. As long as it succeeds, other people with money are going to want to get in. Or, and this is important, are going to want to prove that they can do pro soccer better. Step 2, get out and support your local pro team. Just skipping U.S. soccer because you're angry at MLS is just stupid. Go support your local pro team, NASL, NPSL, USL, whatever. Keep those big crowds coming in Cincinnati and Louisville and Sacramento. Maybe MLS will come scoop you up. And if so, guess what? You've been promoted. But if not, you now have teams with large fan bases making money. And with such success comes ambition. Ambition in the form of folks who want to get in on the soccer bandwagon and know there's money to be made, but not by MLS's rules. So those men will get together and form rival leagues. Maybe they'll agree to be open, maybe not. But it will force change. Competition always breeds innovation. Now I can hear the tinfoil crinkle as your leader repeats his mantra, but the USSF won't give them D1 status. Well, guess what? It doesn't matter. It didn't matter when the American League and the American Football League simply opened up shop and declared themselves Major League, and they paid players like it. And do you think good players will turn down salaries in excess of that being offered by MLS, or the fans won't come out and see those players or those teams just because they're not D1? As Cincinnati and all have proved, nonsense. Money talks. Historians say gridiron football overtook baseball as the national pastime after the excitement of the 1959 NFL final. But it was really the arrival of the AFL 1 year later that opened the game up to new markets, made it more exciting, provided celebrities like Joe Namath, who would not have been allowed to be himself in the stodgy NFL, and created the Super Bowl. Competition breeds innovation. So here's the deal, pro relics. Do something. Support your local team. Convince men with money that soccer is worth the investment to build a system that will give you real pro rel. But in the meantime, stop trashing MLS in the process. Look, I gather that most of you are new to soccer, and that's fine. It just shows how far the sport has come here. And I sincerely mean it. Welcome aboard. But if you're old like me, you remember, watching a league fold is no fun. If you think you will cause MLS to collapse only to find hundreds of businessmen racing to form a brand new open pro-rel league, well, you're crazy. America doesn't work that way. History has proven that. We had to wait 12 years between the NASL and MLS, and even then, MLS barely got off the ground since people were not queuing up to invest in the league. But for the fact the awarding of the 1994 World Cup was conditioned on the U.S. having a D1 league, we might still be waiting for a D1 league. Simply put, we don't want to kill MLS, period. So call for pro-rel, but support U.S. soccer. Don't trash other soccer fans or writers, but support soccer. Because only by showing business folks how truly marketable the sport is will we succeed in getting into the big four of sports. Thus endeth the rant, thus endeth the lesson. As always, please subscribe to us on iTunes, give us ratings and reviews. You can follow us on Twitter at Section 107 Row A, and you can email us at soccermaven, that's soccer, M-A-V-N, at yahoo.com. Until then, this is Steve Holroyd and Sammy the Wonder Pug reminding you to keep your feet on the ground on every throw-in. Ciao.
And now we're happy to see you succeed in every way you are. Cause you're keener than Keegan, and you're better than best. We always knew you'd go far. You're a 70s football star.